Hey fellas, how are you doing? Today's collaboration is awesome. You know why? Because today's video will save you a lots and lots of money. Do you want to know how? Follow me. Okay, you must have guessed it by now where we are standing. Strongliving, what the name says itself. I'm sure you must have guessed it right. We are standing in front of a physiotherapist clinic. That's right. When we reach our 30s and 40s, we tend to become more curious about what's happening inside our body, how it works, sports, nutrition, your diet, all that thing, and your bones. That is what we'll be talking today, and you won't find this knowledge easily, which is why you pay a lot of money to physios and doctors just to gain this knowledge. So, are you ready? Let's go inside and check it out by yourself. Here we are. Look at this photo. Muhammad Ali. It's a limited edition. And let's meet Faisal now. Hey Faisal.
How are you?
Good man, how are you?
Good to see you, man.
Good to see you. It's all going good, and thanks for the time today.
I appreciate it.
Must be busy for you.
It is busy, but you know, we're here for all the right reasons, and
Sure.
let's get you healthier.
Yeah. I'm super excited to be joined by Faisal, founder of Strongliving. He isn't just a physio, but a qualified exercise physiologist as well. So thanks Faisal for coming in today.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your time. And you know, I've been watching your channel for a while, and we've been entertained by you for so long. It's such a pleasure to be on your channel finally. So yeah, it's the privilege is for me. So thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Feeling is mutual, Faisal. I used to visit you at your clinic, and I loved your approach on just not about just fitness, nutrition, health, and a lot of things we take care about when we cross 30s and 40s. So I loved your approach.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much for that. Yeah.
All right, so let's get started.
Let's get started. Let's do this. Yeah.
Okay, first question is about protein and supplements, glutamine, aminos as well. We think that if we have that, if we consume that, we will be ripped, we'll have some muscles, and we don't have to go to gym. So what is your take on supplements and your fitness and physical movements and your diet?
Yeah, I think the key is in the word itself. Like when you look at the word supplement, it should supplement your actual diet. Whereas people try to use the actual supplements as their foundation of the diet, which is quite incorrect, because if your foundation is not right, for any building, that building is not going to be a very steady building. So usually I always try to teach a lot of my clients and a lot of my friends around me that if we get our foundations right, if we have a solid diet, if we have regular exercise, the supplement is going to aid all of those results rather than relying on all those supplements. Now, it doesn't mean that you shouldn't take supplements, but it definitely means that once we get the staple diet right first, that's when we bring in the supplements, and they can really assist you in, actually getting to your health and fitness goals. For example, if you just look at protein powder, that's a very popular one. A lot of people are taking protein powder. I'm sure you do. I do too. It is very difficult to grill chicken 4 or 5 times a day, make a steak every day, fish, this, that, eggs. People who are vegan, people who are vegetarian, they're having yogurt, chickpeas. That's a lot of protein. That sounds like a full-time job. It doesn't sound like something you can do practically. The protein powder with a shake just adds that extra 30 grams of protein. You can have 1, 2 a day at the very, very most, but we still need to make sure the staple foods are there as the foundation. And you can have roti and naan and biryani and everything. And if you add protein shake on top, it's not going to really get you the gains unless we get the foundations right. And I think that's where I like to begin with everything. Yeah.
Oh, that's a very good insight. And on top of it, what type of supplements we should be taking? Like I mentioned, aminos and glutamine and whey protein. And if not whey, then sometimes it's soy protein as well. So what is your take in that?
So I think, look, if we're using, let's just start with protein powder. If we're using protein powder to meet your protein needs as a supplement or as an assistance to get the protein targets, that is great. But we still make sure that we're eating enough protein foods to make our way there. Now, secondly, if you look at aminos and if you look at glutamine, now those are things that you can get away with not having, but then again, they can aid your workout too. They're great in preventing, muscle breakdown during your workout. So aminos work very, very well during the exercise. You can also take them before, you can also take them after. They do aid in a very busy lifestyle.
Yeah.
Usually we're on the go. We're rushing to the gym, we're having our workout, we're going back home. The aminos will just restore a lot of the gains we're making in the muscle.
Right.
So again, it aids, but it's not the staple food, right? And usually what we tend to do is we jump to the aminos and the protein powders and then the pre-workouts, but we don't establish the foundations yet.
Yeah.
So as long as our foundations are there, that's when the supplements are the most effective. Touching base on things like pre-workout. Now, there is a bit of a placebo in this pre-workout. So most pre-workouts are just a lot of caffeine.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And nowadays everyone has caffeine, usually through coffee or if not through pre-workouts. There's also some chemicals that are put into a lot of pre-workouts that causes the arteries in your body to what we call to vasodilate. So it goes through vasodilation. So what happens is your arteries actually open up. Mm-hmm. So a lot of people will be familiar with this. Whoever takes pre-workout at home, they'll know you get this little tingly sensation.
Oh, yes. Oh,
it goes into your ears. I'm sure you feel it. Yeah. And you feel alive. You feel like I'm ready to lift.
Yeah.
Now, that placebo effect, okay, can be established with a good warm-up, but it does take a lot of effort. So sometimes you can use the pre-workout as a bit of an aid to just get you fired up.
Yeah.
And I think it has more mental benefits than physical benefits in terms of the actual, getting into the workout. So just by taking the pre-workout, you've taken it now, your body's warmed up, you feel all this tingly, you're not going to go back to sleep. You have to work out.
Yes.
And you have to work out at quite an intensity to wear off a lot of that blood flow. So I think it is very effective. I'm still a believer in, trying to be as natural as possible in terms of not adding too many chemicals into your body, but you can get a similar effect with just caffeine. There's caffeine tablets out there, or just straight black coffee as well.
Coffee, yeah.
And I think and nowadays, usually when people get to their 30s, they steer away from pre-workouts and they start having piccolos or just a black coffee as their pre-workout. And it's usually because it's digesting better, it's better for their gut health, and they're not feeling this crazy buzz and a big elevation in energy and then a big crash after. So I think overall, as we mature, we start making better choices in our foods.
Yeah.
When we're young, it's kind of like, I want to go have Macca's, I want to have a burger, and I still make sure there's enough protein in there, but you don't understand that even that little bit of fat that you're getting from the burger, it does actually have an effect on our body. Now, I usually follow a rule between saying 80% of the diet has to be great, 20% of it should be fun as well. Like, we're still here to enjoy our life.
Yeah, which we call it as a cheat day or cheat diet.
Exactly. So you call it a cheat day, cheat meal, whatever you want to call it. But I think you should earn the cheat meal.
Yeah.
Put in the hard yards and then earn it. And I think that's the most enjoyable part. Yeah.
Perfect. Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, Faisal. Moving to our next point. I myself have migrated from India, you from Pakistan, and I have seen and noticed one major thing that when people move overseas, they are always more focused about making their lives and money, but they mostly ignore their health and fitness, because migration rate says that people often migrate in late 20s or late 30s, and that is where the main important core is. So how people like us can be motivated to go to gym, to be into fitness all the time and every time?
It's a good question. And I get that a lot. And I feel like there's two things that we need to establish. One of the most important things is the mindset. And the reason why I talk about mindset first and foremost is I like to tell this a lot to a lot of my clients, usually the ones from India and Pakistan, because we understand wealth very well. We understand money, okay? But the biggest wealth is always health. Without health, there's no wealth that you could be able to enjoy. And if you understand that concept, the other example I like to use, it's like if I want to drive from Sydney to Melbourne. Yeah. It's about an 8-hour drive, and I'm going to put in the wrong petrol in there. I'm only going to fill up maybe a quarter of a tank. And I'm just going to be stubborn and stay in the car and keep trying to push my car to Melbourne. Eventually, it's going to break down. Yeah. And I feel like we use that same concept in our life. We don't actually go to the gym to tune up the wheels of us, get that car service that we should be getting, okay? Because we do that for our car, we don't tend to do that with the actual bodies.
Oh, yeah.
Our body is our vehicle of our life. And I think that's where that mindset needs to be created, that this is the most important vehicle. And I've seen, a lot of guys from India and Pakistan, we love our cars. I love my car. I'm sure you love your car too.
Yeah.
And we make sure the service is on time, the exhaust is sounding good. Anything is off, we make sure we fix it immediately. But when it comes to us, sometimes we can lack that. And I feel that mindset shift just from taking care of our body vehicle, navigating through life, is essential. The second thing is keeping that mindset in mind. What is a skill or what is a sort of strategy you can use to keep yourself accountable? For example, if I say to you, Brass, let's go to the gym Sunday, 12 o'clock.
Okay.
Even if I don't want to go, even if I'm not in the mood, it's cold, it's winter, I feel like sleeping in, I'll probably get out of bed because I know you're waiting for me.
Oh, yes.
And you might think the same thing, that, Faisal's going to be waiting for me. I should go. He's made a commitment. I want to fulfill that commitment to him. Sadly, we don't have that commitment with ourselves.
Yes.
Right? And I feel like that's what we have to establish. I think it's great to have a friend, have a trainer, have a human being who you are accountable to. And as you can build that discipline, you should be able to be that person where you're accountable to yourself. You write in your diary, 12 o'clock Monday, I'm going to the gym. And you fulfill that commitment with yourself. It's a lot harder because no one's watching.
Yeah, no one's watching.
No one's watching, so it's a lot harder. So I usually recommend is if you are new to the gym or you're struggling with motivation, getting a friend, someone who's got a similar goal to you, or it might just be different goals, but you just go to the gym together.
Yeah.
You might do a different workout and go home. And I feel like those are two strategies that you can do. So mindset and accountability.
Yeah. I like that part where you mentioned about be your own friend first. 100%. Don't seek that thing where other person will push you. And that is where the key is. So we just discussed about gym and exercise and showing up at the gym. But I also have a question about type of exercises we do. For example, weight training, strength training, cardio, and Pilates. So what's the difference between all these type of exercises?
Well, if you look at weight training itself, weight training is any sort of load that's applied to the body and you are pushing that load. It could be a weight, it could be a band, it could be a weight that's attached to a machine. Any of that sort of training is considered to be weight or resistance training. It's got many different names. Pilates is similar. It is still resistance involved, but there's not much weights to be used. The resistance is coming usually from a reformer, or there's some floor Pilates where you use the force of your own body weight, or you use the sort of force coming, the output from the actual floor itself. Now, Pilates is usually a very foundational exercise. And my programming, whether you're a bodybuilder, whether you're a professional athlete, whether you're an office worker, I do take a very Pilates style approach because it starts from a very foundational element. Even when I first started the gym, it was all about the biceps, chest days almost every second day. But I think as you mature, you realize that it's not about, everything on the outside. It's more for the core itself. Your core muscles need to be as strong as possible. Your glutes, your hamstrings, your back muscles need to be holding the structure. Then you can work on your arms. I mean, this is all for looks, really, right? But if this is strong, everything else is going to look so much better, and it's going to functionally work better too. It's like the same example I gave with the car. It's like if the engine is not good and you just put some really nice looking rims on it, your car's not going to be any faster. Right? Work on the engine, work on the core, and I think that's where you need to begin. So whether it's weights, whether it's Pilates, whether it's cardio, start off slow, start off simple, and just slowly build onto that rather than going from 0 to 100. We're not going to be an Olympic lifter on day one. And ego lifting, is a big thing in today's culture. It's all about the heaviest weight. All of that is very, very relative. You should just try to better yourself. And just focus on being 1% better every day. Doesn't matter where you start from. Some people are starting from up here based on their motor skill. Some people are starting at a very basic level. But I think it's that slow approach and that longevity approach where people get up to their 30s and their 40s, they realize this is the best way to train. It's not about the heavy weight, it's just about the consistency. Yeah.
Wow, I love that tip about consistency, not the heavy weight.
That's it.
Moving to our next topic is about injuries.
Yeah.
What type of injuries people face when they reach in their 30s and 40s, and what can we do to avoid that?
Yeah, look, I think at that age when you cross the 30s and you get across the 40s, we are in a lifestyle where we're constantly working.
Oh yeah.
It's about establishing our life and then eventually planning the family as well. So there's a lot going on at that time. So then when it comes to a lot of work, especially if your job is like an office work type of job, which is the vast majority of people, we tend to slouch a lot. Our posture becomes very, very rounded.
Yeah.
We spend a lot of time sitting down. Now, we want to stay active. We were active usually during our childhood.
Yeah.
But then we go from being a very active life even through university. And then we get into this sort of slump where we just stay seated and we work these hours and hours and hours of prolonged sitting. Now, what tends to happen is you carry this body into the gym. Where your trap is tight, your neck is sort of stiff from all the prolonged sitting and the forward head posture, hip flexors are very, very stiff, and you're trying to do a squat, you're trying to do a lead lift. There's so much that can go wrong because, the foundations have not been opened up and been established in order for you to do all those movements. So we go from our baseline, we take the body down and we actually get tighter and tighter and tighter. And then all of a sudden we expect to do peak performance with a 100 kilo squat on the back. And I think what's missing in between is preparing the body for the exercise. And I love, again, I'm bringing the car analogy in here again. If you have a vintage vehicle, I don't know if you ever know anyone here has a vintage vehicle, it takes a long time to start up that car. It needs so much more maintenance. We slowly start becoming these vintage vehicles.
Oh yeah.
Right? So our warm-up is not like a 16-year-old warming up. As a 16-year-old, I don't know if you remember, we just start playing sport. There's no warm-up, there's no stretching. You don't have to worry about any of that. And you feel fine and there's no injuries.
Yeah.
And you get to this age where the body's just offering so much tightness. And usually what I say is to a lot of my clients is a tight body, taking a tight body into any sort of sport or any sort of exercise is laying a bit of a foundation for a potential injury to occur. Now, usually what we have to do is we look at the foundation in terms of how much range of motion we have with the body and working within that range of motion so we are lifting and exercising safely. Yes. Rather than just trying to follow something on Instagram and be like, oh, that's a good exercise, but it may not be suitable for you, right? So sometimes getting some professional help and getting something more personalized is beneficial. And then secondly, looking at where your weaknesses are and working on those weaknesses and the imbalances that your body may have. The main injuries that we usually see, shoulders, neck, lower back, hip, knee.
Lower back, yeah.
And they say at least, I think 95% of people will at least, get lower back pain at least once or twice in their lifetime. And it might be very acute pain, might be very chronic pain. But I think naturally over time, us as human beings, we have become prolonged sitters. We're always sitting down. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The stand-up time is very, very minimal.
Yeah.
And that just means more compression on the spine. And over time, we're just going to develop that. And even in our spare time, we're playing games. So we're seated again. And whether we're driving, there's always something involved in sitting down nowadays, I think that something we can do to change that is you can have like meetings where you're going for a walk. I don't know if you've seen that. There's a video, I think it's in Google headquarters, where there's they're having a meeting. I don't know if it's even a real meeting, but there's a table. And the table has this cycle attached to it.
Okay.
And there's about 5 people on this table. And the table is moving along, but it's only moving whilst everyone cycles. And they're cycling very gently. And they're all having a meeting and talking about, what's planned out for their business and having that meeting that way. So it's a bit of a weird example, but what it kind of shows is we can bring in these physical activities in our life somehow. Stand-up desks are one thing.
Oh, yeah.
And then nowadays people are bringing in even treadmill desks where they put a treadmill, they put a desk on top, and they're doing almost 20,000 steps a day whilst working. So there is a lot we can do. I understand things are changing. We're not cavemen anymore. We don't go out hunting.
Yeah.
Our lifestyle is more in front of technology, but we just have to get out there and just move a lot more. And I think that's where things start, yeah.
Absolutely. Good example. I love how he's giving example, how he's explaining things with the car, with the caveman thing, and the Google headquarters. Now comes the last question. Guys, listen to this very carefully because that's a key. What are the common myths people see or face about the fitness, and anything you want to debunk about that?
There's one that I've had recently, and this might be a little controversial, but we'll see how this one goes. I do get asked about steroids a lot by a lot of clients who are looking for faster results. And they try a few things here, they try a few things there. And if you just really understand the person, they're just really impatient. You know, if someone just really establishes a very solid foundational workout plan, they will achieve their goals. But I think once we get to a point and we just want to achieve this amazing result and we want to get things too fast. And some people are also under the impression that if I inject steroids today, I'm going to have muscles tomorrow. People who tend to take steroids still work very hard. They're in the gym almost twice a day, 7 days a week. So it's not that poking a needle in you is going to give you these amazing results. There is still work required.
Yeah.
And I think that's where most people don't understand that it is still going to take work. There is no shortcuts here. This is a lifestyle. This is not a 4-week transformational plan, right? And the ones who usually tend to get there too fast tend to lose it very fast too, whether it's their way they look or whether it's the actual health. I come across many clients who have taken steroids in the past, and let me tell you, 10 years later, when they reach 40, it's not looking too good for their health. And they usually regret because they've only done it for reasons of looking good.
Yeah.
And there's many ways, and there's one thing about looking good and there's other things about feeling good. And I think we have to take both into account and be able to establish both and bring them together. And so I think that's probably the most common one at that sort of 30-year-old mark. And then kind of see it through the 40s.
That's good. Guys, looking good and feeling good. 2 important things. Note it down. All right. Thank you, Faisal, for all the insightful things and all those things which we believe will be helpful for our audience today, especially in their 30s and 40s. So yeah, thanks for that.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much for having me on. It's a pleasure to be a part of Paris Perspective, and I've been really enjoying your channel.